Secret number 3, I wanted Visa. It's a simple but advanced. And I want to credit Mark von Muser, my friend Mark, for this idea. Mark did, hi Mark, if you're watching this video, Mark did this experiment with, I don't know, around 500,000 calls. Like Mark and his team did 500,000 calls. And by the way, if you get a chance to study from Mark, go ahead and study from Mark. He's a dear friend of mine, and he's one of the masters in helping, teaching people how to master persuasion, right? So if there's an option for you to do that, just go ahead and try that. And Mark sometimes speaks for my events when I do different events in different parts of the world. But let's get into this, right? So Mark did this experiment. I shared it with me that approximately 500,000 calls were analyzed. In the calls, he told his group of people to say something while he's in the closing thing. When you are about to close, they say something. So we'll share about that in a second. But before that, I want you to understand the background of this. So I would like you to know what is the psychology and neurology of this. Right? The psychology and neurology is humans are reprogrammable. Humans are reprogrammable. They are very open to be programmed, right? In a good way. Right? Use it for only good, of course. You know, if you're not adding value to people, there's nothing that, like, you are losing life. What does that mean? It means that, you know, if you're a scammer, you're actually scamming yourself, nobody else, because you have the unique skill set to scam. You might as well use it for helping more people, right? So this way you could have more sustainable long-term income. If you're stealing from people, you have the gift of stealing. Why don't you steal it for them and then make a lot of money in the process, right? So which means that anything that you're doing, like on short-term thinking, so stealing or scamming, another thing, it's basically hurting yourself, because in the long term, you're going to be poor and bankrupt anyway. You might also live long and successful. That's what we want, right? So for that, what I recommend is make sure that adding more value than you receive, make it a habit. Make it a consistent habit that will get you to succeed for the long term and sustain that success for a long time to come. So humans are programmable. Use that programming for doing something good for them. Okay, so let's jump into the strategy. When you are in rapport, they think what you think. When you are in rapport, they think what you think. So when you are connected to another human being, have you ever had incidents where your wife, husband, friend, close friend, BFF, they were like, you call them and say, oh, let's go for this movie. Let's go for this new Avatar movie. And all of a sudden, like, oh, buddy, I was thinking about the same thing. What, should we go at 3 o'clock? Yeah, 3 o'clock. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Sometimes we align our thinking because our brains align with each other, synchronize with each other. Even if we are not in physical proximity, sometimes synchronize with each other so that we have similar wavelength thinking. That's how it works. And we have something called mirror neurons that is used for feeling what the other person is feeling. So there are so much about mirror neurons and spindle cells and oscillators. There are so many ways our brains are communicating with each other, which we could talk about if you're curious in a future video. But specifically, this particular thing is synchronization. Like, how does fish, like a school of fish, they all go together? Does the fish on the middle say, oh, you go 45 degrees on my right at like 20% below my fins? No. Or behind my fins? No. They have synchronicity. They're able to align and go together. Same way our subconscious want to sync with each other. Same thing with the birds. Like you have seen birds, a flock of birds going together, right? So they are syncing with each other. The same way humans sync with each other, right? Humans sync with each other. A classic example with the women in prison. If women in prison, if they are in proximity with each other, their periods align with each other. Right, so they will have periods at the same time. Right, so it's synchronicity. Same thing happens in sales. When you are in synchronicity with another person, when you are connected to another person in deep rapport, which you are sincerely doing to create value, so you are not scamming yourself, you are not stealing yourself, right? Stealing your own opportunity, you are not stealing your own highest destiny because of short-term thinking, right? Long-term thinking, you do long-term thinking and you're creating so much value. And when you are creating so much value, what you do is, when you are in this alignment, whatever you think, they think too. They don't even know that you are thinking that way. So I'll show you an example. For example, what happens? Like when you're about to close, you're about to influence, and you're about to sell, and you made your pitch, and they're like thinking about it. What do you think most of the time? Most salespeople, they're like, oh, what do you think they are going to buy? What are they going to say? Are they going to come up with an objection? Are they going to say something? Oh, is it going to happen? I need my commission. It's almost Christmas. It's almost Easter. It's not Christmas. Oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, is it going to happen? We are keeping blabbering, keep on thinking in our own mind and like confusing ourselves. And that emotion gets transferred to them. We don't want that to happen. That emotion gets transferred to them. And they're like, oh, okay, I don't know. I'm confused about it. And they're like, what happened? Because you got confused. You got confused because you are not certain. First of all, you don't believe in your product. Go back to the product table. Make sure that your product table. If you don't have it done your product table, make sure that you do. The second thing is understand that it's certainty that is transferred, and you feel uncertain. They feel uncertain. So with that certainty, the alternate thing that you could do is you could say, I want this visa. This is what Mark did in his experiment with almost 500,000 people with his team. And then people said exactly, there are fascinating case studies where they said visa, even if they didn't have a visa. They had a MasterCard or American Express. They started saying, hey, I'll use visa, because in the salesperson's mind, they were repeating like, I want visa. I wanted visa. I wanted visa. I'm excited. I'll jump in. I'll get started visa. I'll get started visa. I'll get started visa. So you keep on saying this mantra in your mind. It's not as a mantra, but as a way to influence them. A way to influence them. You talk to them. When you're connected with them, you say this in your mind. Their mind will pick it up and start getting it. Once you're in rapport. And don't complain to me, come back and say, oh, I did this, it didn't work for me, because you didn't have rapport. This is tested time and again in so many occasions. So you need to learn how to build rapport, which I'll teach you in another future session if you're interested in learning how to build rapport, right? So I'm in visa. I'm in visa. So that's the tactics. Don't think about the purple cow. Can you not think about the purple cow? You are seeing a purple cow now, are you? Aren't you? Yeah, of course. You're seeing a purple cow. Same way, I don't want them to have an objection. I don't want them to have an objection. I don't want them to have an objection. Then you're creating an objection for you, right? So think about the result you want. What's the result you want? The result that you want is like you want them to buy. So in your mind, when they're saying they're thinking, processing, first of all, stop interrupting them because they are processing. In your mind, you say, I'm in visa. I'm in visa. And if you're in a country where you don't use visa as in Visa, MasterCard, the credit card, then I want bank transfer. I want bank transfer. I want bank transfer. I want it, something like that, where you are actually helping them to decide with a small nudge to their subconscious, but assuming and understanding clearly that you're providing so much value than you're getting paid for. Awesome. So coming up next tomorrow is secret number 4, call resistance versus call excitement. It's a fascinating thing, that experiment that I did with my 1 million plus group, a group of people who makes a $1 million or more. I was helping them and their team to move to the next level. So as I was sitting with them, this came about, and I realized that this is something that is really helping my team, my group of people, the people in my 1 million plus club, to help them and move their business to the next level. So you could use this too, and I'll see you tomorrow. But before that, make sure that you do this thing. When you have a sales conversation, the action is sales conversation. You could say, oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I love this. This is what you're going to repeat when they are thinking on the final closing stage. Oh, it's totally a bargain. It's totally a bargain. Another word you could say, let's do it. Visa. If you're asking, how do you want to pay for it? Visa or MasterCard, you could say Visa. And we will talk about closing in future too. How do you want to pay for it? Visa or MasterCard? That is part of Visa or MasterCard. That is part of a closing strategy. We'll talk about closing strategy in the future too. We'll be talking about a lot of stuff in the next 1 year. So this way you have a lot of tools in order to succeed and grow in your business, in your service or product business. So let's do it. Let's do it. It's totally bargain. Oh my gosh, I love this. Do one of this in the sales conversation today, tomorrow, or when you're talking to your child, when you're talking to your wife, when you're talking to your wife, you're like, oh my gosh, I'd do it, do that, try that, and it will really work for you. Okay, cool. With that, I'll see you tomorrow. Secret number 4, call reluctance versus call excitement.